Good morning to our viewers here in Lagos, around Nigeria and across the world. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. I am Osaogie Ogbon.
And I'm Blessings Mosugu. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm still here on this side of the studio, standing in for Olive and Modi this morning again. Osaogie, how was your night?
It was fantastic. Just to remind our viewers that you can be a part of the conversation, as always, via social media platforms at News Central TV, or call the phone lines at sometime in the second half of Breakfast Central when the phone lines are active. But as always, we have some of the biggest stories happening here in Nigeria and in different parts of the continent to share with you for the next 2 hours. Starting here in Nigeria, as always, I think some of the trending conversations are still centered around the idea of a protest, whether it's going to be happening on the 1st of August or not.
Yeah.
From what the information that has been shared, it says meant to be from the 1st to the 10th of August, 2024.
Yeah.
There's also been reactions from the federal government, which, I have found, a little, interesting. And, just like I was saying yesterday, I felt like the Nigerian government's reaction should have been, immediate, ways with which they can have dialogue.
Yeah.
Figure out exactly what the issues are that the people are pointing out and have dialogue with them. But what I can see, and I did say this yesterday, that I feel like there is a strong communication break between the government and the people. It's either the government is failing in its ability to communicate effectively with the Nigerian people, with its numerous spokespersons that it has, in Aso Rock and across the country, from Bayo Ononuga to Ajurin Galale to every other person, and Mr. President himself. It's either that's the problem, they are not able to communicate these beautiful plans that they have for Nigeria, or there's no actual plan to be communicated. It's either of both of them.
So I'm glad that you went there, because there's another theory, and it's not, honestly, it's quite obvious, right? A lot of times when we see some initiatives come out, or some rules or laws that they come out, they come up with, and after a while, after they tell Nigerians about it, they now go back and in retrospect they're thinking, okay, will this thing actually work? Yeah. Sometimes it's even because of the scrutiny that they find out that this idea
was not really a good
yeah,
plan.
so that's another characteristic of our government,
yeah.
Where they come up with something on the spot, and then they go back and like, that is it possible?
Yeah, mostly after, Nigerians have reacted to it.
Yes.
But there's some other thing that I feel is important to note, and that is in the previous administration, the Buhari administration, one of the things that I was very critical, about in that administration was the fact that it seemed that, like former President Muhammadu Buhari got into office in 2015 and just locked himself in Aso Rock for those 4 years. In fact, for 8 years that he was president. Locked himself in Aso Rock. He only showed up when there was some event that he felt required his presence. It's not because there weren't thousands of other events I should have showed up at, but the ones that he felt, or the ones that his handlers felt, well, maybe you should show up to this one. Even when, I remember he was criticized heavily for not attending the burial of some Nigerian soldiers that were killed. So there was multiple times when he should have showed up, but he didn't. So he locked himself in Aso Rock, barely ever had any press briefings, barely ever had any, actual communications with the press. And this is a thing that you see in other countries. Even, let's not even go to the West. Even in South Africa, every now and then, you would see interactions with President Cyril Ramaphosa and the press. He's granting interviews, he's speaking with people. President Muhammadu Buhari did, not even barely, he did nothing of that sort, right? And it was one of the reasons that Nigerians never knew what his plans were, never understood what, his ideas were with the country. And it's pretty much the same thing. And I said it, in the start of this administration, that President Muhammadu Buhari set a very poor standard of leadership. And anybody who's taking over now would then realize that it's either I greatly improve on this standard of leadership and communication with the people, or I do the same thing. Because he did it for 8 years and nobody really complained.
Yeah, but as a leader, you have an option not to follow that template.
Exactly. And that's why I said that he's either, the current leader is either going to do current president, I beg pardon, is either going to do the same thing or do better. And what it seems like is President Tinubu is doing the same thing, which is stay in Aso Rock, don't communicate, don't have any press briefings, don't have any media chats, nothing.
I think that leaders and the government of Nigeria generally should understand that they're not the Nigerian celebrities that should be picky with what they respond to, or they should just keep quiet and ignore them.
Exactly.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Adebola Adeduba. Let's begin with the August 1st nationwide planned protest. Nigeria's federal government has appealed to youths nationwide to shelve plans for a proposed nationwide protest and express their grievances through dialogue. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation and the Minister of Youth Development spoke to newsmen after a closed-door meeting with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, saying issues bordering on national development was discussed. They assured the people that the federal government will consider the grievances of the people and come up with a solution addressing their displeasure.
The President has said, all of us, there's no need for any protest. Let us all calm down. A lot is happening. Nigeria is going to move and march on. And we believe that whatever government comes up will be in the interest of Nigeria. We don't think that there is need for any protest. We are appealing for calm. We are appealing for a peaceful resolution or peaceful approach to any issue.
Well, I would just sincerely and genuinely advise my fellow young Nigerians to disassociate themselves from the planned protest, because it's really not a good act for the nation. We must all stand in solidarity with the nation, and beyond supporting government, we need to look at the entire Nigerian project and the impacts of the economic reforms, especially the macroeconomic reforms of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is leading.
In a related development, Chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum and Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has strongly advised organizers of the planned protests against current economic reality in the country to jettison the idea for fear of being hijacked by criminal elements. Senator Uzodinma, who acknowledged the right of people to peaceful protest, stressed the first-left organizers have not made any valid reason for protesting against a situation caused by global economic recession. He urged all well-meaning Nigerians to protect the country from persons who do not mean well for the nation.
Democracy is about opinion of the people, and the protest is allowed in a democratic setting. But every protest must be reasonably conceived to be able to make political sense. I think it's too early at this time in the life of this government for anybody to come out to say he wants to protest. First of all, there have not been any engagement where those who are sponsoring the protest was able to tell us the reasons for the protest. Secondly, given the global situation today and the insecurity in the country, we have a very fragile political environment that, if not managed and protected very well, may collapse the entire country. So those who are going to protest, what is the reason for the protest? And if they have no reason for the protest, I think our advice, well-meaning Nigerians, citizens of this country who are making sacrifices, some of us have paid the supreme price for the existence of this country. We should guide our country very jealously. I think it is the wrong time for anybody to do any protest.
In the meantime, political economist Professor Pat Utomi has addressed allegations from the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, regarding Utomi's supposed role in mobilizing protesters against the government.
Nothing wrong with protests. The only problem is on the streets. I have planned many, celebrated them on the streets of Nigeria. So why would I be planning one and now hiding? That's the illogic of the whole matter. But to then wake up one day and get calls that I am planning an insurrection through protests that I didn't know were actually taking place was just absolutely mind-boggling. And so I thought, maybe there's a motive. In fact, I was going to ignore the whole thing until people started calling me, look, maybe this guy's motive is to set up the kind of thing they did for.
Let's also tell you that the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution has urged Nigerians to cancel the planned nationwide protest scheduled for August 1st to 10th and organized by various groups in response to the country's economic hardships. In a statement on Wednesday, Director General of the Institute, Joseph Ochogo, emphasized the economic challenges are not unique to Nigeria. He urged citizens to exercise caution to avoid worsening the already precarious situation. In the meantime, the Nigeria Labour Congress has denied reports that it has withdrawn from the planned nationwide protest against economic hardship scheduled for August 1st. The NLC President, Joe Ajaero, said the union cannot pull out from a protest that it did not organize, and this was contained in a press release signed by Ajaero. Ajaero explained that the NLC has a structured decision-making process which includes internal trade union mechanisms and leadership approval that guides its industrial actions, such as protests, to ensure consideration before taking action. The news continues in East Africa, where Kenyan President William Ruto has named 4 prominent opposition politicians to join a broad-based cabinet following over a month anti-government protest. On Wednesday, Ruto announced 10 new ministers, including 4 close allies of veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga. Now, this comes after submitting another 10 ministers to the parliament on Tuesday.
I commend the leadership of diverse organizations, both in public and private sectors, including political parties, for their encouraging response to my outreach to consult on forming a broad-based government. Their willingness to set aside partisan positions and interests in order to join a visionary partnership for the radical transformation of Kenya is a historic gesture of their patriotism.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to Osaoge and Blessings.
Thank you very much, Adebola. Very interesting stories there from Nigeria all the way to Kenya, and of course, interesting seeing the Southeast governors meeting with President Bola Tinubu. Let's see how those deliberations maybe would calm nerves in the Southeast and across the nation going forward. We'll see. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again at 9.
You're welcome.
All right. Stay with us this morning. We continue these conversations, and of course, you get into our top stories right next. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has appointed the former chairman of the nation's electoral body, Professor Atahiru Jega, as the co-chairman of the Livestock Reforms Committee in the country. This was during the inauguration of the Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms at the State House in Abuja, where those present say the committee would herald the operation of the Livestock Ministry, which was recently created by the President. Amadine Uyi tells us more.
Nigeria's livestock sector is estimated to worth about 30 trillion naira, with an annual growth projection of about 1.2% till 2026. However, despite potentials available in the sector, it has underperformed, with clashes between farmers and herders taking the center stage in many communities. In order to reverse this negative trend, President Bola Tinubu has set up a presidential committee that will spearhead reforms in the sector, with the former chairman of Nigeria's electoral body, Professor Atahiru Jega, as its co-chair.
It was a great honor to be asked to co-chair this committee on implementation of reforms in the livestock sector. And Mr. President is very passionate about it. He knows the value it will add, not just to economic development in this country, but to also bring in enduring peace and stability and addressing the persistent conflicts amongst communities, particularly of farmers and herders.
President today has expressed his excitement, has expressed his anxiety, and he's very anxious for this to take off. You are well aware that a new ministry has been created by Mr. President, and he is waiting for the report so that the ministry can take off immediately after the report has been submitted by the committee. So everybody is excited. We in the agricultural field were also excited. All stakeholders are very, very excited because there is so much potential when you unbundle the livestock sector.
Professor Jega, while speaking with newsmen after the inauguration of the committee at the State House in Abuja, says that with reforms in the sector imminent, Nigeria will reap tremendous benefits of the sector and harness untapped potentials.
The vast potentials of the livestock sector need to be opened for the benefit of all stakeholders as well as for the overall benefit of our country.
We believe that as soon as it's implemented, and I'm sure, and I have full confident that the report will be something that will be, will see results in both the immediate, short and mid-term and even long-term solutions to what we see in the livestock industry now.
President Tinubu, who will be chairing the committee, says that it will coordinate and address obstacles affecting productivity in the sector. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Thanks to Amadine Uyi for that very interesting report. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what the connection is between the former INEC chair and former vice chancellor of Bayero University, Atahiru Jega. What his connection will be with the livestock sector. And, it's a genuine, question to ask, because I also had, similar questions in my head when I saw that.
But I think that from a vantage point, a lot of people will see the opportunities, at least for the livestock farming value chain. Whether or not there's a correlation between, these two people you have mentioned, it's not
So the initial questions that were raised were, why is there a separate sector or ministry for livestock when there is already the Ministry of Agriculture? And that was once again a genuine concern because, we've spoken initially about our own report and how the president is also, making moves to reduce the financial burden on the Nigerian government, and of course merge different sectors into one another. So, we don't have a completely expansive network that we're running here. But you then go ahead, and you create the livestock, ministry, which of course raised question. Okay, fair and good. But what I'm just, pointing out now is that normally we would say, one of the things that the president was applauded for was his ability to appoint brilliant minds into, positions. And so I'm really just asking, Atahiru Jaga's profile, what connection does it have to do with livestock? Because he was INEC chairman appointed by former President Goodluck Jonathan. He was former vice chancellor of Bayero University. There's no part of his whole profile that has anything to do with investment or interest or training in managing livestock or agriculture.
Even in agriculture.
You were INEC chairman. But I'm sure Mr. President understands the reason he's making these decisions. And
that should not be the case because we deserve to understand as well, right? So, but we've always gone along with, okay, the president knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we have no idea.
Anyway, let's move to other discussions this morning. President Bola Tinubu has signed into law bills creating 2 new regional development commissions. The bills are the Northwest Development Commission, NWDC, sponsored by the Deputy Senate President Jibrin Baro, and the Southeast Development Commission, SEDC, sponsored by Deputy Speaker Ben Kalu. A statement by the President yesterday explained that the Northwest Development Commission is set up to facilitate the reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises destroyed by multi-dimensional crisis, as well as tackle poverty, illiteracy level, ecological problems, and other related environmental or development challenges in Northwest states.
Now, in addition, the Southeast Development Commission is established to ensure the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the zone, as well as tackle ecological problems and other related environmental or developmental challenges in Southeast states as well. Joining us now is former Minister of Youth and Sports and human rights activist Solomon Dalung. Also joining us is the founder of Igbo Global Network, Tony Nwisi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to start with, Honorable Nwisi this morning. My first argument will be, or my first question will be centered around the idea that the reasons for the creation of these two development commissions, there are already ministries responsible for roads and housing and healthcare and every, type of infrastructure that you can imagine. There's ministries set aside for them already that are responsible. If we question, the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, the Enugu-Port Harcourt, whichever one that you want to mention, there's already ministries that are responsible for these ones. So what is the significance or the relevance of the Southeast Development Commission?
I mean, first of all, thank you, Sarage, for having me here. Thank you, Blessing. You guys are doing a fantastic job. There is a need for that because everybody in Nigeria knows that the Southeast has deliberately been marginalized by Nigeria since 1970. Mr. President's efforts to bring this commission is a good idea, but as we say, the devil is in the detail and in the implementation. The Southeast has been compromised. It's a deliberate policy, unwritten policy by the Nigeria state to marginalize the Southeast, which is a complete nonsense. So there is a need for it. The Southeast requires its own seaport. There's no reason why the Southeast should not have a seaport. We can fund it ourselves. We don't need the federal government to fund it. The Southeast needs an international airport. We can fund it ourselves. We don't need the federal government to fund it. But the federal government has chosen to keep 68 items in the exclusive list, which doesn't make any sense. And those things are things that make for the development of a nation. Part of it is seaports and airports and all that kind of stuff. So there is a need for it. It will open up the Southeast and it will grow the GDP of Nigeria. It will create lots and lots of jobs, not just for the Southeast, but for the Southwest, for Northern Nigeria, the whole country. The whole Nigerians know how enterprising the Igbo people are, the Southeast is. So there is a need for it.
Right. On paper, it sounds like a brilliant idea. And like you said, it will develop the Southeast, will open up the Southeast. But why then do you feel like the idea of marginalization simply disappears with the creation of the Southeast Development Commission? If you argue that the Southeast has been marginalized for so long, does this commission simply just roll over that marginalization and then bring development to the Southeast? That's one question. And then also, the idea of marginalized Southeast, it's not like we've not had proper representation of the Southeast in the National Assembly for so long. We have had Senate presidents from the Southeast, more than one, I believe. We've had Ayim Pius Ayim, who was, of course, in the news this morning also. We've had, Ike Ekweremadu, who was Deputy Senate President. So the Southeast has had proper representation in the National Assembly. So who then would you say marginalized the Southeast?
Well, to answer the first question, the commission doesn't remove the marginalization. It's simply a bandage on a wound. The marginalization is a function of Nigeria's constitution. And we all know what that's all about. So we will take every victory, we'll take every progress. So that takes care of the first question. The second question is this. Yes, these politicians you're talking about, yes, we'll have them. But Nigeria's problem is not at this tactical level. What Bola Tinubu is doing is tactical. The issue lies from the very root of Nigeria. 1914 amalgamation, we did not agree to that. There was no referendum, there was no plebiscite. The 1999 constitution, Nigerians were not consulted on it, Nigerians did not vote for it. It's actually Decree 24. It's a decree. Is a paragraph of a decree. So the 68 items of the exclusive list is deliberately designed to marginalize the Southeast and indeed the whole of Southern Nigeria. And finally, what is the role of government? Number one role of government
Saroge, is the protection of life and property. So everything else, if life and property is not secured, then we're joking. And the reason why life and property is not secured is because policing in Nigeria, a country like Nigeria, is centralized in Abuja. The guy in Abuja is trying to police Ogbomoso. The guy in Abuja, from Kaduna is trying to be commissioner in Ogbomoso. A guy from Ilorin is commissioner in Owerri. It doesn't make any sense. Why is policing centralized? Those 68 items in the exclusive list, these are the issues. The 1999 Constitution, these are the strategic issues. And that's why Nigerians must continue to speak up. Until we deal with those major things, the small things will continue to be there. Now, you talk about politicians and representation. Yeah, the politicians are there. But, you and I know how the politicians work. They're all prostitutes. They work for the highest bidder. They're not necessarily representing their people. And that is why my message to Nigerians has always been, government is not made up of politicians alone. Government is made up of politicians and citizens. So citizens must continue to speak up to make sure government understands their responsibility. And if the government does not understand, citizens must do what they need to do to make sure government understand, make sure politicians understand.
Okay.
So without it, then you're slaves.
All right, but I would like to ask, having said all of this, because we know that this bill came up in the 9th Assembly, I guess, and at that time it didn't really get the backing or the support of the former administration. A lot of people are making it seem as though this is just a clapback for the Buhari or to the Buhari administration. And yes, it's going to address some monumental changes, but do you think this is the political and economic reawakening that the entire country needs at the moment? Because let's face the truth, every region, every country, every state has its own peculiar challenges. The insecurity you talk about is not just peculiar to the Southeast. It's a global, it's a general nationwide problem. So is this the political reawakening or economic reawakening that the entire country needs at the moment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Nigerians must understand that they're citizens and their sovereignty is in their hands. And the constitution that we have was not made by Nigerians. The federal government stole the sovereignty of Nigerians by virtue of that constitution. And Nigerians must make sure they are educated about their rights and they make the politicians understand you cannot steal our sovereignty. The Yoruba people have their own sovereignty. The same way with the Southeast people, the Igbo people, the Tiv people, the Hausa people, the Fulani people. Sovereignty rests with the citizens. And the 1999 Constitution is at the crux of all our problems in Nigeria. It's a fraudulent constitution. It was not made by Nigerians. It does not help Nigerians at all. It is designed to make Nigerians slaves in their own country. And Nigerians must wake up to it. Even the name Nigeria, I can't even stand it because we did not give ourselves the name Nigeria. Nigeria was given to us by somebody called Frederick Lugard. So Nigeria means nigger area, slave area. And so Nigerians must begin to ask themselves questions and ask the politicians critical questions. And I agree. I couldn't agree more with Blessing. Nigeria needs an awakening, so that we can be the best we can be, and so we can work with the politicians to make better decisions for the benefit of all of us.
All right. So I'm going to go back to, again, questioning the relevance of the Southeast Development Commission. And also, I'm sure people from the Niger Delta would agree with me that the NDDC hasn't necessarily done or made a lot of difference, or significant difference in the lives of the people of the Niger Delta. So what is your confidence that the Southeast Development Commission will transform the Southeast, much better than what the NDDC has done in the past? What's your confidence with the people currently responsible for the Southeast? And I'm talking about those who are elected leadership, both from state governorship to the National Assembly, every single one of them who currently represents the Southeast.
I have zero confidence in Nigerian politicians.
Okay.
Because they're not working for the benefit of Nigerians. And Blessing hit the nail on the head that the nation needs an awakening. And so my message to the Igbo people, the Nigerian youth, Nigerians is Nigeria is your country, Niger area as it were. Before we're forced into one country, you must take responsibility for it. You must hold your politicians accountable. If you do not hold them accountable, they will continue to prostitute themselves and sell Nigerians to the highest bidder. You can see what's going on in Kenya. There's an awakening in Kenya. That's why they're asking critical questions. The same way with Uganda. There's an awakening in Uganda. So Nigerian youth, I celebrate Nigerian youth actually, very dynamic. All over the world, they're successful all over the world. It's only in Nigeria that Nigerian youth are seen as lazy by General Buhari. I don't know what the heck he was talking about. But Nigerian youth that I know in the United States, in Europe, that have lived for many years, are very, very successful. Both Yoruba, Benin, Hausa,
Yep.
all Nigerian youth I've met all over the world. They're in France, in Germany, in Ukraine,
sorry to jump in.
world.
So just because we're making the best use of our time. So if you don't have any faith in the Nigerian politicians, all of them,
yes,
and with the very peculiar ways you've described them, once again, why do you believe in the Southeast Development Commission, and why do you think that it would bring any change to the Southeast if you don't have any faith in the leadership?
We'll take every progress, Saroge. We'll take every progress. But every step forward helps us. There are millipedes, there are centimeters, millimeters instead of yards. So we'll take every progress, towards a better country. But the larger picture, the strategic picture, is that the nation belongs to all of us in that geographical expression called Nigeria or Niger area. And all of us must begin to take responsibility by holding politicians accountable. That's the larger message. As we hold politicians accountable, like in the United States here and in England, the same thing. As you hold them accountable, we make better decisions. As we make better decisions, you have a better country. Insecurity is solved. All of those problems are solved. So, you take every victory. So the devil is in the detail with what Tinubu is trying to do. The devil is in the detail and the implementation. So again, citizens must engage, and never ever trust any politician. That's my core message.
Okay.
They must engage.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't sound very very convincing, that this would necessarily bring any, great development. Of course, kudos to Honorable Kalu, of course, for pushing this bill and, eventually getting it signed. I'm sure people in the Southeast might or might not be happy about it. But, there's been agitations in the Southeast long enough. Maybe not every person from the Southeast agrees with the agitation. But is this also something that might reduce the agitation around the Southeast?
Just like I said, Osaro, we will take every progress. Tinubu's effort in this direction is good. It's a good idea. But like I said, he's dealing at a tactical level. I am dealing at a strategic level. I look at matters at a strategic level. And at strategic level, what we need is what Blessing said. The country needs a major reawakening. We must have serious dialogue about what it means to be a citizen in that geographical space called Niger area. We must have a conversation.
All right. Honorable Nwisi.
Why is Nnamdi Kanu's freedom taken from him? Right? So life and liberty, freedom, what does it mean in Nigeria? I don't know. We must have serious dialogue about these things. We cannot sweep the one on the carpet. And if you don't deal with the strategic level, the tactical matters will continue to be, it's like taking one step forward and 10 steps backwards. So am I assured of justice in Nigeria? I have no confidence in justice in Nigeria. It's simply, just like millions of Nigerians. If you don't know the Inspector General of Police, you have no assurance of your security. Look at the number of people who have been killed in Benue. Look at in the north. Look at on Sunday morning in somewhere in the Southwest. So insecurity, we have to deal with the strategic matters.
All right, Honorable,
the tactical matters.
Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we're going to see the extent to which the bill is implemented, because it's one thing to pass it into law, and it's another to see an immediate implementation of the bill. So thank you for joining us.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so very much. And you guys are doing a great job.
All right. Of course, conversations continue this morning. Blessings.
All right. I mean, like I said, it's left to see the implementation of the bill and to see how necessary it actually is. So,
former Senator Shehu Sani did, also raise some questions on X yesterday, where he said, kudos to the president for creating the Southeast Development Bill, and I think Northeast Development Bill. What is now left is the Southwest, and maybe North Central, I hope I'm not missing it, Development Commission, which of course, basically is saying, when you create these commissions, at some point, someone's going to ask for a South-South,
Development
Commission.
Region will
Middle Belt Development Commission is probably also going to come up, in the future also, which really just points to the fact that there are already ministries that are responsible for governance and for the development of these areas,
yes.
And so, creating these commissions and then creating a budget, that accommodates them also. Billions of naira, of course, will be allocated to these commissions, and the NTDC currently doesn't look like a great example of, or great reason why there should be more commissions. We'll see. Anyway, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we continue this morning on Breakfast Central. Remember, you can join us in the second half of Breakfast Central via the phone lines, and at any time, simply tweet at News Central TV. Share your thoughts with us. Stay with us. Welcome once again. Now, in other stories this morning, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has imposed a $200 million fine on Meta Platforms Incorporated and Meta Platforms Incorporated, I beg your pardon, and WhatsApp for engaging in discriminatory practices. The fine follows a 3-year joint investigation by the FCCPC and Nigerian Data Protection Commission into the company's operations in Nigeria.
Also, the investigation revealed that WhatsApp requires Nigerian users to consent to sharing their data for research purposes upon registration, unlike the users in other regions who are given the option to opt in or opt out. Furthermore, the investigation found that WhatsApp allegedly shares user data across different platforms. Now, in a statement released to the news agency of Nigeria, WhatsApp announced that it will appeal FCCP's decision. Joining us now is fintech expert and founder of Ancestors Advisory, Fisayo Durojayi. We are also joined online by the senior manager at digital rights advocacy organization Paradigm Initiative, Boye Adigoke. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'll start with Fisayo. Mm-hmm. What are the claims exactly? So I'm seeing a lot of things about privacy, using customer, I think Osage said something about the scare that our WhatsApp was no longer safe. And that was what came to my mind this morning, that, okay, I'm seeing personal information shared across other platforms. What exactly would you say are the claims that are being laid?
So after 3 years of investigation, again, I think that was what the news exactly said. They've looked through the sign-up process for WhatsApp, and of course says that the fact that you're using WhatsApp, you have inadvertently given Meta, which is the parent company, the right to use your data for anything. Well, they said for research purpose. Again, depends on what kind of research that is, but I think it's more for, for more personalized advertising and all of that. And of course, again, why that is problematic in its own right is the fact that, okay, of course, Europe is the hotbed for regulation, right? They export regulation more than any other thing, right? Given the GDPR rules in Europe, and of course the localization of that with the NDPR in Nigeria, right? So it means that customers have to opt in or opt out of some of those, things around, their data, their personalized data. So it means that no platform should be able to use anyone's data except, they are given the right, except the customer themselves give the right to use that, to use such data. So the claim here is that Nigerians are not given that option at all, and that's why, the fine is being imposed.
Okay, let's also have Boye Adigoke also join us, and express, why this is a major problem, because I'm sure a lot of Nigerians really, don't care what happens to their data. as long as their WhatsApp is working and they can continue their, regular conversations, nobody cares. When they send you that long list of, legal terms of use and all of that, you just scroll all the way down, click, yes, I've read it, let's go. So, Boye, share with us, why is this a problem, and what exactly have they discovered here that, might be a challenge here in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. But I think the first thing I'm going to say is that it is neither here nor there. I don't want to give a straitjacket answer to say that, this is a problem, that the fine is a problem, because it is important to have some sort of regulatory oversight over the work that platforms like Meta do. And we have to also understand something, that data protection derives from the right to privacy as guaranteed by the Constitution. So the assumption that people don't care about how their data is used is incorrect. People care, and people should care. More importantly, people who benefit from the use of those data should care. The problem here is not that I think WhatsApp or Meta, the parent company, needs to use data for business purposes. I think the digital economy relies on the use of data anyways, but if there are rules and there are procedures about how this thing should be done, it is expected for every entity to comply with those rules, including Meta. So I don't want us to create an impression that it doesn't matter, people don't care about how their data is used as long as their WhatsApp is working. That then doesn't mean that I necessarily agree that this fine was justified or otherwise. I also think that the question that on the table is whether the fine is proportionate, or it's a proportionate way to respond to whatever infractions that FCCPC and the Nigeria Data Protection Commission has found in their investigation. A lot of things can come up in this process, and we hope that this does not become a litigation issue. It doesn't get to court, and that some way Meta and the authorities will find a way to meet at the middle ground. But I think we need to be very clear from a digital rights perspective that the right to privacy is not a gift, it's not a privilege, it's a constitutionally guaranteed right. And all these suggestions that, people don't really care, whatever you use their data for, is very important. We don't need to wait until there is a major scandal before we start to care. I mean, we all know, I don't know if you remember what we call the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which was clearly an interference in the election, not just of the United States of America, but of Nigeria and of Kenya, I think in 2015. Those were made possible because of unhealthy practices around the use of data like this. So we must be able to look beyond the periphery of how data is used to understand that data represent power, and people who have access to data can do a lot of things with data, especially people who understand how to process data, how to analyze data, and how to to explain patterns, etc. So let us not be simplistic about how we look at the issues. There are concerns definitely about whether this is helpful, especially for the digital economy ecosystem in Nigeria, in terms of when you put out fines like this, what signals are you sending to investors? But I will tell you for a fact that even in the EU, which are the more advanced countries, companies like Meta gets fined even beyond this level. But that doesn't justify necessarily that we can just come up with a random number and say, you have to pay this amount of number, because one of the issues that have come up is that how did FCCPC and the Nigerian...
All right, hold on, Mr. Adegoke.
With this number, I mean, what's the implication for it?
All right, hold on, because I'm sure Mr. Durujai would also have his views on whether the fine is appropriate or not. $200 million is, to some people is quite a lot, but Blessings?
I'm just going to come back to Fisayo now and ask about digital literacy, especially for the ordinary Nigerian, because some of these things that are being discussed now are literally flying over people's heads, because people have no idea what the conversation is. And one of the claims that Meta had was when they were about to start, they had certain conversations with certain agencies about some of the operations, and some of these things are new to them. And the argument from their end is these laws have been in place before they even came, but the ordinary Nigerian does not know that, and so the terms and conditions, some of these policies, we have no idea. We just want to use the social media platforms. So how important would you say digital literacy is for the Nigerian, and what role does it play in this whole conversation? I mean,
it is important. Like you said at the beginning, I'm not sure many Nigerians really care about how their data is being used. Again, from just this, from the basic level. but we should care, but I don't think a lot of people care enough about that, right? And of course, it is becoming a bigger issue because right now we're moving into a different era where when it comes to data, and I mean, the world is getting a lot more, data is now seen as the new oil. If you can personalize advertising to people directly, it's important for social media companies, for Google, for everyone in there, right? So it's important that yes, everyone understands exactly how and where their data is being used, specifically for them. So, for Nigerians particularly, I think that it's time that everyone, needs to say, okay, yes, this is what I consent to regarding my data, regarding my personal information, regarding the things I share. Of course, Meta will claim that chats, again, I see that in their terms and conditions, chats within amongst people is not seen by the organization. But how long you spend, just different things that can collect as part of the of your use of the platform is being collected and is being used in a way that you don't have any control or knowledge about. So I think that it's important that everyone should get involved and lend their voice to the problem.
Okay, so also for more clarity on what exactly we're facing here, can you clarify on exactly or one of the main things that the investigation found out that Meta may have gotten wrong with its policy concerning Nigeria? There's the argument that it's EU policy different from the Nigerian policy. So clarifying exactly what the investigation has found.
Yes. So again, like I said, there's the GDPR, that's the global data protection rights around, and of course I think that law has been localized in Nigeria using the NDPR. Right. So the argument is that, again, I think if you use the internet, long ago, you just go to a website and you move on, right? But now you are required to accept, data being shared. If you just open anything or cookies, you are required to accept, whether or not you allow your data to be used, to be shared, or just anything, right? So it is more or less like like companies complying to that data privacy rules. Say you are the one that gives me the consent to use your data specifically for what we are saying we're going to use it for. And of course, you can choose use my data for this. Don't use it for that. So people are required to choose. Right. So the argument from the regulators in Nigeria say that WhatsApp is not giving Nigerians the options to choose, whether or not their data can be used or can be shared. Yeah. Right. So what Meta just needs to do is put a button. I accept. Or not accept. That solves essentially this problem. I don't know why it takes 3 years to investigate, but that is all that is required. I accept. I do not accept. Right. If that is done, then all this case would not be there in the first place. I guess that's particularly is the problem. Right. But to the extent to which whether there have been breaches on data or there have been other things, the investigation didn't been able to expose any of those. Yeah.
Okay, I'm also going to find out from Boye, because, I mean, from what you said, it's just something very simple that they're asking for. So, Boye, Meta has said that they want to appeal this for whatever reason, regardless of the fact that there's not too much that has been asked of them. Do they stand a chance?
Of course. I mean, even if they were caught pants down, trading Nigeria's data on the open market, they would definitely appeal. They are a business concern, and no business entity would just throw away $200 million, as fines because they are being fined. So they should definitely appeal it, and I see that happen. That's why I also said that I do hope that this doesn't have to become a litigation issue. They should be able to probably talk to the authorities and maybe come to a middle ground. And there are many reasons why they have to appeal it, because they also have an argument in terms of their relevance to the Nigerian economy. For example, what amount of opportunities they've created in terms of employment. We know how huge content creation is in the age that we live in. A lot of people are creating content on meta platforms like Facebook. I mean, recently Facebook was monetized, which means that people who create content on Facebook now get paid for the content they create. The same thing for Instagram and maybe other Meta platforms. So Meta will also bring forward those type of argument that this is the value we bring to the economy. Asking us to pay this kind of money will affect our ability to continue to provide these services and all of that. So we have to look at the value that that entity is also bringing to our ecosystem. So definitely I will see them, appealing this, and I do hope that there is a middle ground. But I think I also need to paint a bigger picture about all of this. Beyond the fine, beyond what the NDPC and the FCCPC have requested from Meta, what I think is important is the role that these agencies play in our ecosystem. We've talked about digital literacy and the fact that an average person doesn't really care about how their data is used. An average person doesn't read privacy notices and all of that. So even if you give people opportunities to consent or withdraw consent, a lot of people will not even explore it because they don't even have the literacy required to be able to make those type of decisions. So that's why we have law in place. That's why we have agencies of government in place to be able to protect the interests of Nigeria. So from my own perspective as a digital rights advocate and as somebody who works in the digital rights advocacy ecosystem, what is important is about protecting the interests of Nigeria. And so what FCCPC is doing or the NDPC is doing should be looked from that perspective, because
let's also find out.
Looking for money from every angle, and
Mr. Adegoke, kindly hold. Okay, great. I also want to know, in the time that this has, happened, I'm not sure how long ago, the policy came in that, of course, this investigation has been carried out. But I want to know, is it possible that Nigerian data or the data of Nigerian users has also been weaponized or been used for maybe fraudulent things? You mentioned Cambridge Analytica a while ago. Is it possible that Meta has also used the data of Nigerians for things that we're not aware of? Is there also a possibility that, the FCCPC will be able to investigate further and, figure out these things?
So the good thing is that what the FCCP has said, or what their investigation has shown, has not indicated that level of breaches. But of course, there is a Cambridge Analytica scandal that has to do with our election. And if you look at the Cambridge Analytica scandal, the problem with that scandal is it's not even Meta directly interfering in election, but because Meta shared the data of its subscribers to a third party, which is Cambridge Analytica, and that third party used those data for election interference. It was bigger in the US at the time. It wasn't so big in Nigeria, but the investigation revealed that Nigeria election in 2015 was also interfered with using those the data that was assessed by Cambridge Analytica. So that, at least that evidence existed at that time. But as at 2015, there was nothing like data protection law. There was nothing like the Nigeria data protection regulation. And also something I want to point out in this conversation is that it is a bit tricky for Nigeria. If you look very well at the release by the FCCPC and the NDPC. The NDPC started existing last year after the President Tinubu signed the Nigeria Data Protection Act into law. This was around June last year. And this investigation has gone on for 3 years. What that means is that this investigation started before the Nigeria Data Protection Act was even signed into law. But before the Nigeria Data Protection Act, there was what we know as the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, which was issued by NIDA. What this effectively means is that whatever privacy breaches Meta is being accused of is now Meta is being accused under that regulation, not under the Nigeria Data Protection Act, because that law did not exist. And I don't think within the context you can backdate the application of a law. So that's also something I want to highlight, and that's also think that Meta might be able to also wiggle its way around this issue to get some maybe a soft landing. All right,
Mr. Adegoke. Mr. Durojai, I think the last question will go to you. About how Nigerians can better protect themselves and protect their data.
You have to be careful of your digital footprint, what you put out, what you can't, again, I think there have been issues around what people put out when they were young, when they're teenagers, and coming to bite them much later in life, right? So it's important that you're careful about the things you put online yourself. That's number one. That's even on a fair use perspective. But of course, as part of the overall I think it's a long ask. I think that the terms and conditions are just way too long for many people to read. So I will say on TV that yes, please, if you can read it, read it.
And it's not just reading it, you can read it and not understand what it's saying.
So there's a big literacy issue to to be dealt with in there. If possible, just copy it and just maybe put on an AI platform to say what are the red flags I should look out for. I mean, there are different ways to work around some of those long things. But again, eventually, you have to choose. Do I consent or do I give up my right? I mean, my ability to use, not right, my ability to use WhatsApp. I don't know what people will choose, because I think WhatsApp is now like the primary way of communication. So I don't know if I would, I'd rather probably consent so that I can have access to my loved ones around me. Again, so it's Nigerians are caught, or everyone is caught between a rock and a very hard place. So all you can do is to ensure that yes, what you put online is safe and it's not something that you regret, further down the line. All right.
Fisayo Durojaye is the fintech expert and, of course, founder of Ancestors Advisory. We also have had this morning Adeboye Adegoke, who's, of course, senior manager at digital rights advocacy organization, Paradigm Initiative. Thank you both for stopping by, for sharing this conversation with us. We hope that we all get a cut from the $200 million. I don't mind $500, $1,000, $2,000. Thanks a lot for stopping by. We'll see you again soon. Now it's time to find out the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning. We're joined by Chris Kende-Wandu, who's a publisher of CKN News. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. We kick off with this Nigeria newspapers this morning. Let's share with you the major stories. Blessings.
All right, taking a look at this Nigeria, we have at the forefront of the newspaper, protest march. Dialogue remains the best option. That's an advice to the president, of course. They've always said that he should come out of the barricade that has been put around him and then speak to the people. And then, of course, we see Navy uncovering illegal bunkering site in private residence on page 10. And then the NDLEA nabs most wanted Lagos drug baron Temo after years of evading arrest on page 15. Then, of course, we take a look at Kebbi dissolving 21 local government administrators. That's found on page 9 of the newspaper. Then at the top of the newspaper, we see 311 billion naira foreign investments liquidated in 6 months, according to the Nigerian Exchange. And, of course, on page 8, we see Anambra State, tension as suspected herdsmen abduct 6 persons. That's on page 8 as well. And beneath the protest story, we also see Southeast governors and northern groups about Benin charging intending demonstrators to make sure that they have conversations as opposed to going on a protest. That's the story that we can take on this Nigeria newspaper this morning. All right, let's quickly go to the Punch newspapers. It says here, big on your screen there, governors and ministers meet today to stop hunger protest. Reps ask for the government to embrace dialogue as Tinubu sues for peace. Abiodun, Uzodinma, Bauchi governor condemned planned rally about Benin urges patience. Pilot hospitalized as a plane crash kills 18 in Nepal. Mayhem, as Fubara and Wike supporters clash in rivers. Dangote and local refineries to end fuel importation. Because also find on the Punch this morning, FG scholars decry 56% allowance cut as they fear expulsion. Foreign education, forex allocation tumbles 83%, says the CBN, and also residents groan over Lagos Air Force Base blackout. Well, those are the stories I would share. We're going to quickly get into it, in interest of time. Chris Kende-Wandu, let's first of all start with the conversation surrounding the protest. We saw Governor Hope Uzodinma this morning in the news after meeting with President Bola Tinubu yesterday, along with Ayim Pius Ayim, and I believe the governor of Ebonyi State. And of course, he also made his views known concerning the protest. He said that he doesn't know what the reason for the protest is because the sponsors of the protest haven't come out to express, what their reasons are and all of that. But what are your reactions to the idea behind the protest and the government's reaction?
Well, first and foremost, there seems to be only 2 languages that Nigerian government understands. One is strike, second is protest, and that is germane. Most often than not, when Nigerians try to express themselves or cry out over issues, government just keep a deaf ear as if they don't understand. It has happened time and time again. You remember the issue of ASU, the issue of a medical association, a local government, name them, even students. But you just see those in government keep quiet as if nothing is happening. Then when you issue a strike notice or protest notice. You've seen them jumping out and trying to make issues. So this is not new. This is not the first time Nigeria are protesting. Nigeria protested severally. You remember vividly what's that one? The protest against fuel price increase during Goodluck Jonathan, Occupy Nigeria. Yeah. That all of us were at Ghana Square drinking and eating fufu and the rest of them. There have been so many others before then. I have always said time with time number that protests can be peaceful. People say, no, it will be very violent. I say, no. A few weeks ago, the NLC had a protest, one-day protest, and you saw how peaceful it was. Why? Because security agencies provided the necessary protection, and that is the duty of security agencies. Let me state this fact that nobody can stop a protest in Nigeria. The Inspector General of Police cannot do that. The President of the Federal Republic, because they don't have the constitutional right. That issue has been trashed out at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Yep. And the Supreme Court has said that protest is a fundamental human right, and every Nigerian can be able to protest anyhow, anywhere. But the caveat is that it must be peaceful. And how does it become peaceful? It is now for security agencies to make sure that they're able to give all the necessary security, barricade or whatever to make sure that it's... The third one is the fact that even government is not even making it easy. Now, they are designated, for Lagos and Abuja, I know, that there are designated places for protests in Lagos. In Lagos is the Gani Fahimi Park at Ojota. If you want to reach protest, that place was specifically designated for that. People can troop there. And in Abuja, there's the fountain. You know that fountain? Unity Fountain. That Unity Fountain in front of Nikon Hotel. That is another designated. But what has happened time and time again is that when I just want to take advantage of it, police will go there, barricade the place, they will not allow people to come in. And that is why people troop out. They've come with this narrative, oh, NSAS was very, very violent. No, that's what we said. NSAS was not violent. I'll tell you for free. That protest lasted for some days. At Lekki Tollgate, you saw Nigerians, celebrities, all sorts, everybody coming, talking. They were dancing, raising placards. It was so peaceful. It was not until security agencies came and started shooting at people and started that. Everything went, that was where the hoodlums took advantage and the mayhem. So those are the issues as well. But coming back to asking whether it's something that I personally, well, I would say it's neither here nor there. Are you not feeling the pain of hunger? A tuber of yam is about 7,000-8,000 naira, one tuber. It is for the first time in my life that I said it some time ago that I saw that in Nigeria they are now cutting yam into slider. I'm sure you must have been seeing it. Yes. They are now selling. I'll be 57 next month. I have never seen it in my entire life. They say, oh, the government has listened to us. They are giving us, they've approved the 70,000 naira minimum wage. How much is a bag of rice? A bag of rice is about between 78,000 and 80,000 naira. So even if the man buys a bag of rice, how you go cook them? Yeah. You understand what I'm trying to say? So those are the issues. And the problem with government is that they don't want to listen. Instead, some of them will be throwing out the spokesperson of government. Instead of assuaging the people that are trying to say, no, we're going to deal with them. It doesn't happen anywhere. But the best approach is to be able to identify those, the leaders of this thing, and the government can call them and sit down together. This thing that is everybody the hunger bros, whether you get money, no, that is what we have is only the rich and the poor. There's that middle class. It has collapsed for long. Nigerians are suffering, and the earlier the government listens to what Nigerians are saying, the better. So, asking Nigerians not to protest, I said, is neither here nor there. But we have to listen. The government has to listen to their demands, and whatever the demands are, if it's something that can be met short term, long term, and it is not just through spokesmen. By now, I expect the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to be talking to Nigerians directly.
Yeah, I mean, I started the show by talking about how he seems to have adopted President Buhari's
imagine, I didn't even know.
Staying in Aso Rock and not communicating with anybody, not having any media chats, not having any press briefings, absolutely nothing.
It's not, because that in itself has a way of communicating with people. When people see the body language of their leaders, then of course there's the tendency that if the president say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm going to do this and the rest, and the president is not talking, and you're just asking process to talk to Nigerians, the possibility of them taking them seriously.
Isn't that already late, though? Because in one of the headlines, we saw that they were asking Nigerians to dialogue instead of, protest. So at this point, yes, we understand that communication should have been, the go-to approach, but we didn't see that. We haven't seen that in a while. We haven't seen that since he assumed office, So now asking him to dialogue, the question is, will dialogue at this point solve the problem? Because we've heard, the spokespeople of the president come and say, okay, let's give more time, instead of protesting, just give more time. But we've given enough time and we haven't seen anything. People are deciding to protest now and then they're asking for more time. So even if the president comes now and says, okay, he wants to talk one-on-one, will that dialogue solve anything? Do Nigerians trust the president enough?
There's no time that is too late for dialogue. I'm a member of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, so I'm a professional doctor. Yeah, I know you are. Nice to know, comrade. I'm also a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration, United Kingdom. So when it comes to arbitration, when it comes to dialoguing and rest of them, never a time is too late. Doing the right thing is key. Identifying those that are trying to get this is key. You don't need to wait till the last moment. And as I said, communication is key. That's the way you talk to people and listen. They'll be saying, oh, look at what, I have said it time and time again, look at what happened. That is why it started in Kenya. The Kenya government never took those young people seriously. Yeah. It was just a debate on increasing tax in the Kenyan parliament. It wasn't even about hardship. It was just tax.
Finance bill.
That finance bill. And the people were just, the president was blowing hot and said, no, we're going to do with them. The IG, the police, whatever they was blowing, the security agents, were going to, how many people you wanted? At the end of it, or before you knew it, it snowballed to what they couldn't handle. At the end of it, over 50 Kenyans lost their lives. At the end of it, the president had to swallow his spit, swallow his vomit and whatever, had to sack all his cabinet members, his cabinet. Even the Inspector General of Police in the equivalent in Kenya was also sacked. And you know the problem? The young people say, oh, no, that is not even what we want. What we want is for you to go. It has got beyond just what you are doing. Yeah. So that is why it is always key for our leaders to listen to the citizens, no matter whatever the situation is. There is nothing that can aid dialoguing. Dialoguing is just the way out. So whether you get positive or not, but at least you make an attempt. So when you are defending yourself, you would have said, oh, I have been able to talk to them. We have dialogue. But somebody to a governor to come and say, I don't know what people are going to protest about. Yeah. Don't go on protest. That is barbaric.
All right. Hold on. Let's speak with someone from Abakaliki. Good morning, Paul. No, we seem to have lost Paul. But we didn't lose Paul, but if you can call us right back, we can talk about that. But you know what? Let's go to other things. We'll come back to the protest conversation later, I believe, because I also want to ask, if you're talking about dialogue, what new thing, would they have to say? They've had a year of communicating or not communicating. So what's the new thing that would, maybe assuage Nigerians and convince them this time that, okay, maybe, we didn't say this before. But let's talk about other things. Navy uncovers illegal bunkering site in private residence. What's your view on that one, and what does that tell you about the whole idea of bunkering in Nigeria, inability to meet our OPEC quota, the theft of Nigeria's crude oil generally? But hold on. Paul, once again, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Go ahead, welcome.
Good morning, sir. Yes, good morning. Yes, this is Paul from Abakaliki, Ebonyi State.
Yes, please go ahead. What's your opinion?
Okay. I am very happy with the man in the studio. On a very serious note, this country, our president, this very president, Tinubu, is never serious. He's taking the people for a ride. In fact, that man is too old to rule this country. In fact, let him go and enjoy the wealth he has accumulated from this country. And we are tired of all this dialogue all the time. We are dialoguing and dying. Everywhere, we are dialoguing and dying. We are tired of all this bogus methodology. Deceiving people every time. They can't listen to you. Every time they keep on calling on dialogue. Are we going to hit dialogue? This man should step down. That credible person that is concerned about this country, take up with the leadership. On a very serious note, they should learn from. Look at how Biden just gave up the leadership of America. They can't Let's learn from them. Africa, I don't know what's wrong with Africa. Now, they are trying to rusticate Dangote refinery. The main problem with this country is fuel problem. Let this thing calm down. We are we are dying in masses, kidnapping everywhere, and they don't listen to the masses. Competent court has said, do this, they will not do it. Individuals will say, do it, they will not do it. Market people will come up, help us, they will not do it.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Thanks for your call. Mr. Wandu.
Yes, just as I agree with him on the point of the issue of fuel. All the problem bedeviling Nigeria presently, not all, at least to a large extent, the economic woe we are suffering presently started from the day the president on the 29th of May 2023 on assuming office announcing the removal of petroleum subsidy. Now, as of the report coming out, we are hearing that we are spending about 777 billion naira per month to subsidize petroleum products. And you ask yourself, so which subsidy was removed? So what is the essence of removing this subsidy? That in itself has parallel effect on everything within the economy. The food, the problem you have in food, because also transportation comes to be coupled with insecurity and the rest of them. We've talked about the electricity, the tariff, so many things at the same time, and the level of taxation that on a daily basis Nigeria just and we are not, government is not providing all the necessary palliatives or whatever the measure they agree and they promise to do. None has been implemented to my satisfaction. So that is where the problem. Then coming to the question you asked about oil bunkering or whatever that was discovered, that is no news. Yeah. Good enough that it was security agencies that discovered that, but I've said it time and time again that most of these people, these bunkers cannot succeed without the connivance of our security agencies.
Yeah.
Because then...
Hold that thought. I apologize. Donny, good morning, calling from Lagos Island. Good morning, can you hear us?
Hello, good morning.
Please turn the volume of your TV down and then please go ahead.
Good morning.
All right. Mr. Wanda, please go ahead.
Yes, so that is no news. The fact that they find it in the house is no news to me, because the major issue we are having is that the level of oil thefts within Nigeria is so high that we are not even meeting our OPEC quota. I think what we're producing now is between 1.3 or 1.2 or 1.3, and the OPEC quota is supposed to be about 1.6. That is also the problem why we cannot be able to supply Dangote refinery. That Dangote has to now has to start importing crude from Brazil, from US, and you've seen what all the mess that is happening between the regulatory authority and Dangote, as well as NNPC. We have gone further to be able to acquire the services of an independent individual, somebody, to man the oil pipelines and all this. And we're paying billions and billions, and still this remains unabated. I will tell you for free that many security agencies officers pay to be posted to the Niger Delta. Many of them pay to be posted, if you understand what I mean, because they benefit from. The day we want the theft to stop, it will stop. We must have the will, political will, as leaders, as our leaders, to be able to make sure that. Just a few days ago, the president inaugurated a committee made up of security teams, and I saw the IGP coming, the CDS, everybody coming, and standing before camera and say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We have had that. We heard even more during the Buhari's regime. Right.
Good morning. We have a Kelechi calling us from, I believe, or Kogi. Good morning, Kelechi.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Quickly, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for the program this morning.
What's your thought this morning, Kelechi?
Yes, I want to just comment on the issue of the protest. Fine. Yes, I want to comment on the issue of the protest. But first and foremost, we need to understand that this government is not taking Nigerians serious. Nigerians are complaining of hardships. People are complaining of the way the economy is being run, the way the government is running the economy, and some individuals are not even telling the president the truth. A governor went to Asorok to meet the president and is asking, what are Nigeria protesting for? Why would Nigeria protest for? There is hunger in the land. They are not even addressing the major issues. Sending rice to different states, would that address the main issues? Talk to Nigerians and tell them how you'll be able to alleviate these issues. You say you have removed subsidies, you are still paying subsidies. People are dying of hunger. People will wake up in the morning, you will not even know the direction of where you want to be, the direction of your day. And a governor will go to the president and tell him on a national television that he does not know why Nigerians are protesting. These people are just taking Nigerians for granted. Nigeria is a peace-loving people. The youth are very peace-loving people, but the way these leaders speak, the way they talk as if they are not even living in this country, is provoking. The issue is just very simple. Talk to Nigerians.
All right, thanks a lot. Before we go, I want Mr. Wanda to speak on the Southeast Development Commission, which, of course, the president assented yesterday. Ben Kalu is celebrating it. There's also the Northwest Development Commission, as well. But focus on the Southeast. I had my own bits of criticism earlier, and I said that there are already ministries and departments and agencies that are set up, fully funded, to take care of some of the things that were mentioned as the reasons for the creation of the Southeast Development Commission. So why then do we need it? And the argument that the Southeast has been, marginalized and abandoned for so long, the Southeast has had fair enough representation in the National Assembly for so long. So who exactly do we say was marginalizing the Southeast that has led to it to now, demand or, require a development commission?
I'm from the Southeast. So if we have, the same question should be asked, why do you have the NDDC?
Yeah.
Why do you have that of the North? I think there's one.
Northeast,
yes, Northeast, of course. Then I think there's one for Southwest also. I think there were two that were signed a few days ago. I can't remember.
No, right now it's the Northwest and the Southwest.
No, that's the Northwest, yes. Yeah. That's what the Northwest. So apart from that, you also have, for the South, you have the Ministry of Niger Delta.
Yes.
If you understand what I mean. So the question you ask yourself, why should you have an NDDC and also Ministry of Niger Delta? Is because there's a huge disconnect between the government and those that are governing. It's because the money and resources that are supposed to be deployed to this area doesn't get to the people. It's because most of this money that are meant for developmental projects are not used. Let me use that of the NDDC and the Minister of Niger Delta, for example. Ask yourself, since the creation of the NDDC and Minister of Niger Delta, how has it touched the lives of people from the South? If you go to most villages in this area, this year alone, I think about 3 trillion naira have been budgeted for NDDC. And I will tell you that at the end of this year, you will not see anything to show for it. And the problem for me is not just the budgeting. You come to realize that those are the hems of these agencies are people from that region, from South. Hyper, the commission that was created by Buhari to clean up Ogoni land.
Yeah.
Few weeks ago, the president appointed somebody from the Southwest to head that agency. The people of Ogoni came out and shouted, saying, no, they don't want. Then he has to resort back to one doctor, Professor Nini or something, who is from Ogoni land, asking that since that creation of that very, very agency, has Ogoni land been cleaned? Trillions and trillions and billions of dollars have been. So what I'm asking, yes, I think that we have, it's not creation that is my problem. The problem in Nigeria has not been that we don't have enough law.
Yeah.
That has never been our problem. We have more than enough law to be able to tackle the things. The problem is implementation.
Yeah, but so, I want to ask, because now you mentioned the NDDC. Yeah. I did, attend a media chat with the NDDC a while ago, and of course they were able to express, some of the projects that they have, been able to complete. Road projects, electricity, hospitals, schools, and whatnot. And all of that. So, would you argue that there's maybe a higher expectation from the NDDC than we should have?
Have you forgotten the issue of off the mic?
Yeah.
Have you forgotten the issue of, have you forgotten that probe? What was it? Is it not about NDDC? Have you seen the report of that probe? with the billions and billions of naira that were mentioned at National Assembly during that probe that was stolen. Even the person that was in charge for the ministry, for that particular ministry, the Niger Delta ministry, is not the president of the Senate.
Yeah.
Has that issue been resolved? So it is more of corruption for me.
Yeah.
If we'll be able to do the needful, all this. So that's why I said, if you could create that of NDDC, why not that of Southeast? Why not that of Northwest? But the issue for me, I totally agree to you, is not just creating, but making sure that these agencies impact the people. That is the basic.
Right. We'll see. I mean, this is definitely going to be a developing conversation. We'll have more of it. We'll have more people from the Southeast join us to defend the need for the SEDC. Yes, that's what it's called. Chris Kende-Wando, thanks always for joining us. Always a pleasure hearing your perspectives.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We continue this morning with Breakfast Central, and of course, back to our top stories after this. Welcome back. Nigerians are gearing up for a nationwide protest starting on the 1st of August. As frustration mounts over the country's deepening economic crisis and perceived government inaction. The planned demonstration is a combination of growing discontent among citizens amid soaring inflation, with many struggling to make ends meet and basic necessities like food and healthcare becoming increasingly unaffordable.
Now, though the federal government has called for more time to answer protesters' demands, citizens are yet to see a reversal of government policies or any moves towards meeting the demands. Well, joining us now is the 2023 House of Representatives candidate, Lagos Island constituency, Tobiloke Dosunmu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
It's great to have you join us. Let's first off talk about leadership, the role of leadership in all of this. Yeah. You see every leader conveniently asking Nigerians to dialogue, but haven't we done enough? Haven't we, suffered enough? A lot of people would even say Nigerians are people who are very tolerant. We don't know how to fight back immediately, because if we did, we would have been fighting right from the beginning, from the whole fuel subsidy removal, and then from when we found out that yam started growing legs and, flying up with the prices and all. But we have endured enough, and it feels like we cannot go any further. Yeah. Even though the minimum wage has increased, the prices of every other thing has skyrocketed. So we're still back to base. What do you think the role of leadership is in all of this?
Well, for me, I feel like leadership should be all about empathy, in the first place. And one thing the current administration has not shown to the citizens, to the youth, is that they've not shown sincerity. They've not shown that they are actually in solidarity with all of us. The president comes out and says he's working assiduously well to make sure that things go right. He's doing a lot of things, but he has not really. They in governance they've not really shown solidarity. The cost of governance is still very, very high. To show us that they are really in solidarity with us, to show us that they have empathy, that they're feeling what we are feeling. I feel like they should cut the cost of governance. That's like a first step towards showing that, oh yeah, we're with all of you, we're with you people, we know what you're facing. And to show us that, yeah, we are ready to cushion this effect with you, we're ready to face what you're facing. Cut down the cost of governance. Reduce the salaries of the House of Assembly, the National Assembly and the executive. And then we youths will understand that, oh yeah, okay,
yeah, but I think the National Assembly members are giving up 6 months of their.
Well, we heard about that, but really, I don't know how true that is. We know how Nigeria is. We heard about it though, but well, we're waiting to see what happens if they really do.
Well, there's the salary and then there's the allocation, and people are like, if you really want to give up something, add your allowances and the salary, because people don't see that the salary is what is what they're deducting from, but the allowance is still a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. But even if they do that, it will at least show us a little bit of sincerity on their part. Okay, you can't just come out and tell us, oh, we're feeling so much hardship, and then you're still buying private jets. You're still enjoying yourselves. Like you're renovating the VP's residence for so much money.
21 billion. But, there's also those, if you've listened to, for example, Hope Uzodinma, the Imo State Governor, the Inspector General of Police, a lot of them have their views on, whether the protest, should happen or not. Many of them say that 1 year is not enough. We should give the government more time to let its policies materialize into, of course, something positive for Nigerians. So, do you think that Nigerians are also being impatient with the current administration?
Well, if I'm going to be very honest, the current administration, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, has done some applaudable policies. If we're going to be very honest, the local government autonomy, for example, is one very applaudable policy that he has put in place. The student loan is a very applaudable policy that he has put in place. CGA converting from petroleum to CNG, another very applaudable policy that he has put in place. But and that's something we can talk about. First off, for the local government autonomy, I'm very happy about that, because now it gives us direct, as the local government is like the nearest to the people, the grassroots. For example, now we can hold accountable our local government chairman, our councillors. I remember, for example, I'm from Lagos Island, Ward A1, and my councillor Thomas. He now I can hold him accountable. His house is not far from my constituency office, so I can just go to him and say, "Oh, Mr. Thomas, this. We heard there was so amount that was given to the local government. What's really happening?" So we should not deny the fact that yes, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has done a lot of applaudable policies, but we only feel like they've not shown sincerity in all of this. We are alone. We're the only ones suffering, like going through all of this pain. You're not showing us that you are part of us. You are a part of what we're feeling, of our pains. You're saying that we have to feel the heat for some time, and then it's go over, and then we'll start to enjoy it. Then why don't you just show us that you're a part of it?
So showing us that they're a part of it is one thing, but is it a failure to be able to communicate effectively where we are headed as a nation? Is that where the problem is? Or is it just simply that Nigerians just do not trust anything that they say?
I didn't really get your question, but
So if you listen to the president's spokespersons, you've also listened to Mr. President. First of all, do you support the idea of a protest?
Well, the protest is a civil right, and everybody is allowed to protest when they feel like the government should be held accountable. But the only problem, I feel like what the government is afraid of is...
Before you get into what the government is afraid of, I don't know if you will be out protesting on the 1st of August, so maybe not, but when Nigerians say we are going to be protesting on the 1st of August, do you say that, yes, you should go ahead and protest?
Well, I say that it's a civil right, and if that is what it takes to change what's happening now, yes, we should.
Why don't you believe that the government understands what it's doing and Nigerians should be patient instead?
Well, I believe the government understands what it's doing. I just said it. He's doing a lot of applaudable policies. He has made a lot of applaudable policies. If we're going to be very honest, he has done so many things that if the past government has done, by now we should be enjoying. So, but if the youth see it as, well, they need to come out, it's a peaceful protest, and just show that, oh, they're still angry, then the government should come out and then show sincerity. I believe that if before August 1st, the federal government comes out and says, okay, we understand what you guys are going through, we understand your pain, and because of this, to show solidarity, we have decided to cut governance, cut the cost of governance by at least 50%. Trust me, I do not think the protest will hold again by that time, by August 1st. The youths will see that as a way that they have shown empathy. They've shown that, oh yes, we can feel what you're feeling, and we're ready to side by side walk with you in this heat. So what I feel is, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu comes out tomorrow morning and says, we want to cut the cost of governance, this is the way to go. Because if you are feeling it, we should also feel it. Trust me, by August 1st, nobody's going to be out. Anybody that comes out, then will know that that's totally political.
So, but what is the long-term solution, though? Because my worry is that we come out with protests, dialogue or no dialogue, in the next few weeks or months. Fine, let's even say that the cost of governance, we get to cut it a little bit. We're still heavily indebted. We still have a lot of backlog of issues when it comes to financial stability, when it comes to economic growth, when it comes to our naira weighing against the dollar, the floating of the naira generally. So my worry is all of these things seem temporary. Are there any permanent solutions? Are there other things that other countries are adapting to? We keep screaming for direct foreign investment, but our own investment is sinking. So even foreigners we're getting liquidated, basically. The foreign investment are getting liquidated.
Yeah,
so what is, at the end of the day, the bigger picture? What is our permanent solution?
For governance, I do not think there's a particular permanent solution that we can see for now. It's just a year in office, and definitely it will take a lot of time before things start to manifest. And like I said, the policies that the president has been trying to bring about is really positive. And although, because we are Nigerians and we feel like no, we can't hold on to this.
When you say the policies are positive, the reaction to those policies don't seem to reflect the same thing. We're currently dealing with food inflation about 40%, and many people will say that that 40% is not even the actual figure. Investors are jetting out of Nigeria. Nigerians are looking for passports in different parts of the world, no matter what it is, as long as it's not here. So, what policies are you speaking of in particular that you say, okay, this one is such a brilliant policy, and you're really, really excited about it? Nobody seems to believe in it.
First off, the student loan is a very positive policy. It's going to help out a lot of students to go to school, and that's the first step towards eradicating poverty, education. So if he has done that for education, that's positive. We're seeing a lot of people agitating for a new minimum wage. He came out and he said, okay, let's increase it to 70,000 naira for now. And then if anything happens and the fuel price goes higher than this, I would increase it. I don't know if you heard that news. I would increase it to 250,000 naira. So I feel like he's doing a lot to show Nigerians that he's feeling their heat. But it's just that we just don't feel that they are sincere enough because of the past government. To be very honest, Bola Tinubu met in Nigeria that was going downwards, and with all these policies that he's just a year in office, and he's doing all of this.
How long do you think is a favorable time before people can protest? If 1 year is not fair, it's not enough.
I'm not saying they can't protest.
No. But how long do you think will be a good time that you can say, oh, nah, this government doesn't know what they're doing?
Well,
what's the time frame?
There's no time frame for it actually, but I think between now and say another year.
So 2 years?
2 years, half a term in office.
Okay, 2023 House of Representatives candidate, Lagos Island constituency, Toby Loke Dosumu. Thank you so much for joining us and discussing these issues. This is still Breakfast Central, and of course we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we want to take a look at what Nigerians are saying about the economic situation of the nation, and of course the nationwide impending strike. So stay with us. Now, as the August 1st deadline for a nationwide protest approaches, social media is abuzz, with Nigerians sharing their stories of hardship and, of course, demanding change. Now, the call for a protest has gotten the president pleading with Nigerians to give him some more time to meet their demands. Or, as the Minister of Information puts it, this is a family matter, and the government will need more time. However, let's see what Nigerians are saying on X about the protest. Now, we have our first tweet from Juba says, I've emphasized this countless times, and I'll emphasize it again before it's too late. To end bad governance in Nigeria, we first need to dismantle the current structure at INEC Nigeria. The nationwide protest on August 1st is the best chance to make this demand and we must stay committed until action is taken. So this is going straight to the Electoral Commission of Nigeria. Now, the next tweet is from Daniel Rega, who says, this Nigerian government has invested more time and energy in trying to stop the impending protest than it has done trying to fulfill its renewed hope promises, misplaced priorities. Now, a lot of people are saying that if only we could communicate better, because truly now we're seeing the feedback that we're hearing is do not protest, let's have a dialogue. But that's a dialogue that people have been asking for a long time. Now, Big Ayo says, all of a sudden they want to perform Oro Festival from August 1st to 15 in Lagos. They're looking for all ways to stop that protest. Well, many will say how convenient. Now, the next person says, tactics to stop protest on the 1st of August, and he lists them out in 6 different items. Now, number 1, he says, share rice, it no work. Number 2, he says, gaslight Obi to speak against it. Man sues them instead, follows it up with a data-driven analysis of the economy. Number 3, he says, sign SCDC and NWDC into law. That's what we talked about this morning. Number 4, he says, unleash Oba of Benin. Number 5, he says, unleash Oro Festival. And then number 6, he says, blame the Igbo. So according to him, these are the tactics that the government is trying to use to stop the protest come August 1st. Now, our favorite online doctor says, Oro Festival in Lagos now allegedly scheduled for the first 2 weeks of August, the exact same period of the planned protest by the youths. Chai. So after turning billionaires to podcasters, this government don't turn our ancestors to political jobbers. God, I beg. All right, well, I think that's all that we have for now for the tweets. And these are the things that Nigerians are saying on social media about the protest that is to come on the 1st of August and what the government is doing or is not doing. Osalgi, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, I've been saying it's really all, for me, just a communication gap, and there's really nothing more, but every time we talk about communication, there's 2 things, first of all is what new thing will be said, if they haven't been able to communicate all the while, what's the new thing that they're going to say between now and the 1st of August, but let's see, it's still very important that they have that, conversation. The president should, I would advise Mr. President to address the country. We need to go. Thanks for joining us this Thursday morning on Breakfast Central. We, of course, wish everyone a very amazing day ahead. We'll be back here again tomorrow morning. I am Osalgi Ogbonwa.
And I'm Blessings Mosugu. Have a great day.